The untold scandal behind the Blake Lively lawsuit is not abuse. It is Hollywood's most expensive case of bruised egos, built on the shocking realization that proximity to power is not the same thing as having any. Once you peel back the pretty lighting, the PR spin, and the dramatic language they use to dress up normal workplace stress, you see it for what it is. A group of people who confused the director's chair for an open seat. They walked onto Justin Baldoni's set like trick-or-treaters on Halloween and acted stunned when they did not get to empty the whole candy bowl into their own bags. The core of this lawsuit collapses the moment you notice the pattern. Every woman on that set came in with a clear job title, and every one of them behaved like she deserved 5 more. It is honestly wild watching grown adults fall apart because Justin Baldoni did not give them creative authority that they were never promised, never hired for, and never had any reason to expect. The complaint reads less like a serious legal filing and more like a diary entry after a bad group project. Hurt feelings everywhere, responsibility nowhere. They wanted control, they wanted ownership. They wanted to run the show because they assumed the director's authority was something they could borrow like hairspray. From the first day, according to the defense, they acted like Justin would eventually step aside and let them run the movie. He was producing it, directing it, starring in it, and responsible for it creatively and financially. These women, many of whom admitted under oath that Baldoni and Wayfarer were their bosses, behaved like he was stealing authority from them, as if directing your own movie is now an act of theft. This was not workplace conflict. This was a battle for ownership of a project that was never theirs. When Justin did not hand over the keys to a project built on rights held by his company, they did not call it what it was: a boundary, a line, a simple "no, that is not your lane." Instead, they reached for the biggest words they could find: misogyny, hostile, intimidation. They made it sound like the man walked into work every day breathing fire. Meanwhile, half the time he was apologizing for things he did not even mean because he thought it would make everyone comfortable. The defense argues the meltdown started the moment they realized Justin was not going to step aside and let them run the movie by committee. And nowhere is that clearer than with Blake Lively. According to the defense, she returned after the strike with a 30-point list of demands about how everyone else should behave. This was not a wish list. This was a manual for running the set. One of her demands was no more improvising of kissing, but the defense presented footage from a deleted hospital scene shot before the strike where Lively allegedly improvised a kiss with Justin in every take. The script did not call for a kiss. Justin did not ask for one, but she allegedly did it anyway while overseeing the entire scene. That is not about safety. That is about control. It was not that improvising intimacy was wrong. It was wrong when Justin could do it. It was never wrong when she could. This is what the defense is pointing out. Not danger, a power struggle dressed up as a crisis. Lively's list, her demands, her frustration, all point to the same thing. The defense argues she was attempting to use her allegations to become the de facto director. That is not a safety complaint. That is a Hollywood tug-of-war. Then there is Christy Hall, the screenwriter. Producer Alex Sachs admitted under oath that Hall was upset because Justin did not let her direct, but Hall was not the director. Wanting power does not magically give you power, and here is the part that exposes the contradiction. Hall did not know that Blake Lively and her uncontracted husband Ryan Reynolds rewrote parts of the script behind her back. Lively bragged that Ryan wrote a big chunk of the rooftop scene. Hall learned about it only when she watched the final cut and thought the new lines were improvised. So the most direct creative interference came from Blake and Ryan, not Justin. Yet, Hall's anger was focused completely on the actual director who was doing his actual job. It makes sense only if the real issue was never respect. It was control. Then we get to producer Alex Sachs. Her deposition is a tour of professional jealousy. She admitted she felt Jamie Heath's presence meant Justin did not think she could do the job alone. That is not misconduct. That is insecurity. But instead of addressing that directly, Sachs treated ordinary workplace stress like she had stumbled upon a crime scene. When Justin raised his voice and slapped his hands on a chair one day under pressure, she texted an executive saying they needed to replace our director. Not talk. Replace. That is not fear. That is ambition. She also testified that everyone except Hassan Minhaj did not want to appear in press with Justin. That is not danger. That is coordinated pressure. That is the group deciding to ice someone out because he did not hand over authority they assumed he owed them. It is the mean girls table pretending their group decision is an act of moral courage. And then comes Jenny Slate, the best example of what the defense frames as professional entitlement. Slate complained because she was uncomfortable with two parts of Justin's job: kindness and fan interaction. First, she complained because Jamie Heath mentioned her housing allowance, an allowance she received because she was a new mother who needed support while working long hours away from home. Somehow, a gesture of support became a threat. That is not harassment. That is suspicion wearing a trench coat pretending to be fear. Then she complained because Justin greeted fans who showed up at the filming location. She worried she would be expected to do so too. Imagine walking onto a movie set and getting mad that the director acknowledged the people who came to see the movie being made. That is like being a lifeguard and filing a complaint because the pool has water in it. This is not something that I feel a reasonable person would find as a workplace issue. Then comes the sexy comment. According to Justin's deposition, he told Slate that her character's black leather pants looked sexy. He explained the comment was about the costume and the tone of the film, not her body. The moment he learned she felt uncomfortable, he apologized. That one comment became a major accusation. Meanwhile, Blake used the word freely on set. But somehow the word only becomes harmful when it leaves Justin's mouth. The defense suggests the rule was not about the word itself. It was about who was allowed to use it. Then they tried to create a narrative about a hugging culture on set. But Justin pointed to the deposition of Lively's own makeup artist, Vivian Baker. When asked why he thought her hugging complaint was strange, he explained that she was often the one who ran up to hug him first. So, the people complaining about hugs were the ones handing them out like party favors? Now comes the bathhouse incident, the moment this lawsuit officially jumps the shark. The bathhouse complaint might be the funniest stretch in the entire lawsuit. They talk about this invitation like Justin dragged them into a secret underground ritual. In reality, it was a spa, a sauna, steam and towels. The defense basically had to explain it like they were talking to toddlers, that a Russian bathhouse is not a crime scene. The only thing dangerous in there is slipping on the tile. The fact that they tried to spin optional relaxation into workplace misconduct is the biggest reach since Stretch Armstrong. And through all of this, Blake and her lawyers still want the public to believe they were trapped in some unsafe environment. Yet every time you check the actual context, the claims shrink. These were adults on a film set acting like every minor inconvenience was a constitutional crisis. The more you examine each claim, the smaller it becomes. Without context, everything sounds scary. With context, everything sounds like normal workplace friction turned into a Broadway monologue. The defense argues the entire lawsuit shrinks when you add facts. It becomes office drama wearing a Halloween mask, pretending it is a monster. And through all of it, Justin apologized when someone felt uncomfortable. He took responsibility when issues were raised. He adjusted when boundaries were mentioned. He behaved like a normal grown adult who did not want conflict. Somehow that made him the villain. According to the defense, this is not a lawsuit about misconduct. It is a lawsuit about power. They mistook influence for authority. They mistook access for ownership. They mistook proximity for control. And when Justin did not collapse under their expectations, they took their wounded pride to federal court and tried to turn disappointment into danger. The entire meltdown is sitting in a courtroom as if any of this rises above ordinary workplace irritation. It does not. It never did. They are not fighting harassment. They are fighting the gravity of the hierarchy chart, and they cannot sue gravity. And this is where the real lesson lands. Everyone loves to preach that being kind is the right thing to do. Be generous. Be thoughtful. Treat people well and they'll treat you the same. That's adorable in theory, but in a lot of work situations, kindness turns into a liability the second an opportunist walks through the door. People like this study kindness the way pickpockets study a crowded subway. They look for softness and assume it means weakness. They look for empathy and assume it means surrender. And let's be honest, if any one of them had the authority Justin had and someone pushed back on their ideas, they would have fired that person before lunch and bragged about it over cocktails. But Justin tried to lead with decency. He tried to listen. He tried to give everyone room to shine. And instead of appreciating it, they treated his kindness like an unlocked door to walk through and take over. That's the real tragedy here. Not misconduct, not danger, just a group of people mistaking kindness for permission and exploding when the nice guy finally told them no. If you enjoy these long-form essays and want me to keep digging into these stories, please subscribe, and share. It really boosts the channel. And thank you to everyone who leaves comments and messages. I see them all, and I appreciate every bit of the support and—
That's my opinion!